Hi, everybody. Welcome to this week's session of Healing from the Inside Out. And today I have a very special guest with me, Lainee Patterson. And she is an award-winning psychology and spiritual coach. And she has a book. I believe she's going to tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah.
Um, and I just think that what she does is great because she uses hypnosis to really help rewire the brain. So let's get into it and hear what she has to say. Hello, darling. How are you?
Hello. Thank you so much for having me. It's really, really great to be here today.
I drew a blank at your book and it was in my mind right before we we went live. So tell me about that book.
Okay, I have two books, which is amazing. My first book is How to Use Hypnosis to Master Your Brain. And my most recent book that came out at the top of this year, 2024, is A Bigger Mission. And A Bigger Mission is about a collection of stories from various authors that have shared their trauma experience. So each author shares a time that they endured something particularly challenging and what it took from them to move through it. And I really love both my books. I am particularly fond of A Bigger Mission because it shares the power of every person's story. We all have our trials and tribulations in life, and we each inspire each other. I think that's why podcasts are so popular, and certainly like books and stories is we really are drawn to the resilience of others and how they inspire us. And um so that's why I really love A Bigger Mission. I'm really proud of it, and I'm really proud of every author for what story they shared and how they have overcome the challenges in their lives with so much grace.
I was in two books with She Rises Studios and their collections as well as yourself and of as well as yours. And I think there's a lot of power in people coming together and sharing their story. So there's always the title of the book and what we feed into it. So even though it's the same title, a lot of people had different traumas that they saw applicable to those traumas, I guess.
Yeah, we were all actually in the same program because we're all either coaches, healers, therapists, teachers, and so we're all interested in how to overcome, like, what are the tools that we can use to help people, our clients, our family members, ourselves, to overcome the challenges that we have in our lives, and to help upgrade our minds, upgrade our belief systems so that we're no longer being frustrated by the self sabotage. So that's why I love hypnosis. That's why I love working with the subconscious brain, because I myself have had over 20 years of healing, um, using lots of different modalities to try to figure out the what is wrong with me and why can't I overcome this and why am I always running into this same wall over and over again. And it wasn't until I started working on my subconscious reprogramming, and learning more about the function of the subconscious mind and how it basically is overriding all of the action steps that we're doing when we're trying to, achieve a goal or stop a certain behavior or habit. If we're not working on the subconscious mind, then we're going to keep running into the wall because that's the part of us that is running us on autopilot. So we can consciously choose, like, I really want to lose 10 pounds. I really want to quit smoking. I really want to make seven figures, whatever the goal is. And when you find yourself continually running into challenges all the time, that self sabotage, it's because of the programs that you have running. So as soon as you can start to notice what those are and then rewrite the script, and it's so much easier to be able to actually do the things that your conscious mind is prompting you to do.
I love that. I'm a big believer in rewiring your brain. I
Mhm.
follow Shad Helmstetter for several decades, and Mary Morrissey, who's very big on rewiring
Mhm.
your brain from a Christian perspective. But there's others too, like Sandy Forrester. So they were very inspirational to me on that journey, because I know that people can get stuck in those limiting beliefs. And even like you said, the subconscious is always running in the background. So even though you want to change those, until you really work on that inner self and start to do the rewiring, it just keeps happening. So, and you keep finding yourself on that little hamster wheel again and again and again. So it's work though. But you said you had 20 years of
Mhm.
really working on this. I think it's a lifelong journey. I think a lot of those patterns are even brought down from our ancestors. So it's really so deep into who we are. So it's a daily practice,
Yeah.
because, those behaviors, they're always there. And as long as we have fears about things, we have new things we're working on. I think those limiting beliefs continue to pop up when it's something that takes us a little out of our comfort zone, or it is new, or we can relate it to something like a prior situation that maybe didn't end as well as we'd like it to. That fear comes up, and that subconscious thinks it's running in to save us, but if it allowed us on a conscious level to work through that on our own, we would come out better and clearer.
Yeah, exactly. And you're right. It is a lifelong journey, and it doesn't have to take you 20 years. It took me so long because I wasn't using the right tool at the right time. The great news is that all the modalities that are out there, they work. And so that's amazing. So you have lots of different choices. So whatever you gravitate towards, yes, do that. Or whatever you've done so far, amazing. That's definitely helped you. But it's about learning how to use the right tool at the right time. So particularly for me, and honestly, I really think for like every person, start at the subconscious programming, start at that, or do that in conjunction with other modalities. I do a lot of different energetic work or physical work on your body, because we store our commands, our memories, like everywhere. It's not just in our mind, it's in our cells, it's in our energetic fields. And yes, we do inherit things from our ancestors, from our lineage. So we are spiritual beings, and I think we often neglect to remember how amazing and complex we are as beings, that we are not just like humans, that we are eternal spirits, and we're so dynamic, and there's so much to the creation and expression of our souls, and how and who we are here as a human being on the planet at this time. And when we choose to come in, we're coming in with a mission. We're coming in with a purpose. And that purpose is tenfold. And the reason why you chose your particular family can often be because you've come in to be the cycle breaker. You've come in to shift things. Because as we heal individually, as we heal lineages, then the effects of that ripples out into the world, and we are a collective. We are all one. We all impact each other. We know this. We know that when we walk into a room, if we're happy, we shift the energy of that room. We shift the possibilities in that room. If we walk in really angry and grumpy, then that also shifts the energy and the moods of every person in the room. So know that the work that you're doing has a greater impact than I don't want to say than you're aware of, because I believe you probably are aware of it, but we don't often really think about it. So I encourage you to think about how important you are, and how the choices that you make are so impactful.
I love that. I recently did a show with a young lady who was talking. If you looked at her website, it's amazing. And she wrote that when she was 8 or 10 years old. So
Wow.
she's in Israel, and she was talking about our life's mission
Mm,
and the steps that we take. So it's very aligned in what you just said, how that where we go through different stages and when we're ready to live that life work. So when we come in, we might not be ready or fully developed at that stage. So we have to go through those stages to be in that spiritual place, I guess you is the way she said it. And it was just fascinating because I was looking across at her, and she's certainly much younger than I am now. And I was thinking to myself, how wonderful it was that she's at that place at such a young age. And she's in Israel in the middle of a war zone. And
mm,
she just was sharing so much peace and generosity of spirit. And I just thought that was amazing.
I love
So
that.
yeah, so when she was saying, she referred to me as my human self and my spiritual self, and she did this diagram of me of spirit, and I said, Is that a good spirit or a bad spirit?" She said, "No, it's pink, it's very good." But she had drawn this design, and it was really wonderful. So I don't want to get off topic because this is really more about you. So I
Yeah.
want to know what it's like for you when you do, because you use hypnosis when you do that. Walk me through some of those steps. Let's say I came to you and I didn't feel that connection. I didn't feel like I was centered or aligned, and I wanted help with that. How would that work for someone like me?
Well, what I'm always interested in is how to get the most results in the quickest amount of time. So I started with rapid transformational therapy, which is a form of hypnosis, and I love it and it's amazing. And then I started to shortcut things a little bit. And that was what I noticed was that we don't always necessarily have to enter the state of hypnosis, or we don't necessarily have to use the exact tools that I would. So, having you um, close your eyes and get into a state of peace and lull you into a state in which I can effectively start to engage with and help shift your subconscious mind. That's really, really wonderful. And we can also shortcut that by just working directly with emotions because some people don't want to or think that they don't want to remember particular incidents that have happened in their life. So how can we do the same work without remembering a particular incident and get the results that are desired? So what I found is if you just work with emotions. So basically, that I call that notice and name. So okay, how are you feeling? That's noticing because most of us aren't even aware of how we're feeling. I don't know. I'm this. Okay, well, like, how are you actually feeling? Okay, well, I feel like, I don't know, my mind feels really busy. How do I feel? How do I feel? I don't know. Like, sink into it. And that's the naming part. Look at learning the distinction between anger and frustration. How does that feel in your body? What are those different emotions? Learning, disappointment, sadness.
I
Um,
don't have to learn that. I've had enough of that. I've had enough of that.
yeah, we can't usually name them because we're not really in the practice of paying attention to how we're feeling and what those particular emotions are. And once you start to notice a name, then you start to have the awareness of, okay, well, I've got a lot of anger. Okay, well, where is that? It's in my chest. Oh, it's in my throat. I notice as I talk about that, I notice a clenching feeling in my throat. Great. So we go to those areas and we just let yourself feel the emotion because what we're in the practice of doing for the most of us anyways, not all of us, but unfortunately it's the majority where we just stuff down our emotions. We feel
Mm.
the feeling and it either, oh, that's uncomfortable. Or I shouldn't feel that because it's bad, or I don't want to feel it because it feels uncomfortable. And we just practice stuffing it down. Well, it didn't go anywhere. It didn't disappear because you stuffed it down. It's still there. And so we end up with being full of all of these emotions, which then leads to something that we're more and more familiar with is a trigger. Is a trigger? Was it just as soon as we start to feel, it was start to be in some kind of situation that elicits that same emotion, then we're wondering like, why am I exploding from this like little thing? Yeah, okay, I'm annoyed or I'm angry, but like, wow, you know, that's way out of context. I shouldn't have been a volcano from that. Why? And that's why. It's because you've just practiced stuffing down those emotions for so long. They want to come out. So they're looking to escape. Because your emotions aren't meant to be held in your body. So they're looking to escape. So just knowing that, that's really, really helpful. Triggers are so helpful because they're telling you, okay, this emotion is ready to be released from my body. So even just changing the relationship from feeling really uncomfortable about that emotion to like, oh, right, awesome. Now this is ready to be released. I can let go of it. How amazing is that? And then you just feel so much lighter. So it's really, really simple. It's really, really simple. It's not necessarily easy because you haven't been practicing it, and learning how to sit with your emotions can feel uncomfortable, but the process in itself is simple. It's not 10, 20, 50 steps. It's, one or two steps. And you just sit with it and then you release your emotions, and then the trigger, the charge is gone. Because that's what we talk about a lot in hypnosis and in healing in general is um, the meaning that you've given a particular event. I believe Gabor Mate like coined that in defining trauma. It's the meaning that you give a particular incident that's happened in your life. So, we could both have an ice cream and I drop my ice cream and I'm like, just disappointed. I guess I'll get another one. And the other person is like, oh, bad things always happen to me. I never get what I want. Like,
Mm.
and you could have 100 different meanings from the same incident. And it can be a small thing. It could be a small thing like dropping your ice cream, but that starts that imprint, and that starts that subconscious programming. And then that starts that command. And once you have a command, then that's what keeps showing up in your life. And you might not realize that. So that's where it's helpful. When you go back in hypnosis, you usually go back to a particular incident. But you can either do it that way through the incident, or you can do it through the emotion. They're both super effective. So it's wonderful to have lots of tools.
I have a hard time shutting my brain down, believe it or not. Even even my mind is always going really, really fast. And I think that had something to do with the thyroid as a child. But I'm not fixated. I'm always moving on to the next thing. Even in school as a child, I had a lot of difficulty, not so much concentrating. I felt like it was too easy for me, so I needed something more challenging.
Hmm.
So the work and stuff, and I've always had that difficulty. It didn't matter what situation I was in. So, as a child, they just said the work was too easy and just moved me into another class for gifted children. But that never went away. I always felt that way in every situation that I was in. Like I could almost predict what the person was going to say. It was it was really uncomfortable at times, but I got better at it with age. I want to say at I don't know, made me step back and listen more and give that space, but I kind of knew what they were going to say. It was kind of odd. So shutting down my brain was always very difficult. And I found that meditation was did help me. Visualization, I was never great at, um, unless it's something that's in our world. But when I try to give you an example, I was doing coaching with someone, and they were a friend of mine, and we were doing an exercise. We were all coaching each other because that's part of what we do to help one another, right? And they wanted me to see the person I was becoming, and I couldn't see that girl. And it bothered me. I said, well, how am I going to know if I get there if I can't see who she is? And one of the girls said to me, but Andrea, this has been your whole life. Maybe you're already that girl, and maybe you're putting too much emphasis on that destination instead of just enjoying that's and that made it easier for me to
Yeah.
see that future self, I guess, in a way that's not very different, because I was imagining things that I wanted, and looking forward, I thought things would have to be much different than they were. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it sounds like being present in the moment is more challenging for you. And so I would practice the slowing down and being present in the moment. Because if your mind is always cycling, I mean, you could also even look into telepathic abilities if you feel like you're just downloading the information before people have even started saying that. Okay, well, what kind of relationship am I having with people? That's like other. So you could be tapping into a different kind of gift or ability, and that's pretty cool too. But learning how to be more present in the moment, and that's where also gratitude comes in. It's easier to appreciate things and see things in a little bit of a different light when you're present. And I really didn't understand that for a long time.
I'm very present in the day to day and what I'm doing. It's not that at all, because if I'm here now, I'm enjoying what it is, and I have an abundance of gratitude. That's I don't even get out of bed in the morning without sharing my gratitude and sending love and gratitude to
I
my
think it's
spiritual.
more about, it's not gratitude in general. It's the practice of keeping yourself more present in the gratitude of what's in this moment, like and noticing things like, wow, if I oh wow, I can look at that leaf and I can see, wow, there's actually like 20 different shades of green in that plant. Isn't that amazing? Wow. And that brings me really, really now into the moment. I'm not just being grateful for the plant. I'm turning on different sensors that exist within my being by being able to notice a myriad of different details that have always been available to me, but I've always glossed over and passed over. And we can start to do that, then we bring ourselves into the moment, and we bring ourselves into a relationship with anything and everything, whatever it is that we're choosing to be present with and appreciate. It shifts the relationship. I'm now forming a more intimate relationship with that thing because I'm actually noticing it.
The things that I notice sometimes when I'm predicting what they say, unfortunately, um, I think that's helped me a lot in my career,
For
because
sure.
since I was that same little girl, I always had a sense about what was going on in somebody's body
Mm.
long before they got a diagnosis or anything like that. I always knew. I always knew where those pains were, where that problem was. Um, Even when I am going about my day to day, I pick up on that with other people that I don't know, you know.
Yeah.
So I think that's what makes me uncomfortable with sitting and focusing on what they say, because I see things sometimes that I don't want to see, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
And
so it sounds like you have a very strong intuition and that you're connecting. I wouldn't say that those things are your mind. I would say that those things are other perceptions that you're picking up that most people don't. And it's trying to organize what those things are, because it's haven't really developed that relationship to those extrasensory perceptions yet. So that's not, your mind wouldn't know those things. Your intuition would know that. Your psychic abilities would know that if somebody was sick in a particular capacity, that would those would be extrasensory gifts, not your mind.
Well, isn't that part of your mind? Those extra sensory?
No,
No.
they're not. No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it's not something I would think about developing. I've been using it, just not in the way that most people think I should use it, if that makes sense. Like
Well,
it allows me to do a better job at what I do. It allows me to feel people's pain in a way that most people can't, and be more empathetic and compassionate in people, because I do almost feel what they're feeling.
yeah,
So,
that sense of empathy. But I would suggest or invite you to consider to look at those things and develop them because sounds like you have a great gift there that's just waiting to be explored, but also just even for your own protection. So when we move into a state where we're sharing, where we're being so empathetic that we can feel other people's things, we can start to blur ourselves with them, and we can take on things that we don't realize we're taking on that could actually, make us quite sick.
okay.
Just
Lucky,
energetic
lucky I'm in
boundaries.
health. So
Yeah.
tell me a little bit about your process. So you said there's different modalities, right? So,
Yes.
um, what would be a few modalities that you would use with a patient? So you use one specific with one, or is it really based on the individual that you're dealing with? Because clearly, yeah, I mean, you're award winning at this, so you've had a lot of different modalities that you use.
Yes, yeah. I'm really, really curious. I love learning, so I'm always taking a different course or a class and expanding my knowledge base. Just that's how I was made. And so I started off like sciences in university, and then I went to college and studied shiatsu therapy, which I chose because I liked that it was a mix between Western and Eastern um, thought, and still studied physiology, anatomy, and bioethics, and but I also studied traditional Chinese medicine. And from there, when I learned more about the meridian system, I got really curious about energy, and I studied with a couple of different masters, and I studied energy medicine, and a lot of different modalities, like Reiki. Um, I studied with a different energy teacher, exploring the ways that he interacted with energy. And then when I started learning more about energy and the expressions of energy, I became more interested in the mind. So that's when I started to go more into subconscious reprogramming, neuro linguistic programming, cognitive behavioral therapy. And then as I started to learn more about that, then I just started to refine and work also more in trauma, and how do we transmute the challenges that we have, and then how do I actively practice all of the things that I've learned, because that's how we really start to integrate and learn like what the function of all these tools are, the more that we're actively practicing it. So yes, it really does depend on the person. But right now, I'm diving more into spirituality, and the tools that are there, that lie within there, because I always just felt like there was still something missing, and it's that bigger piece that how we have that need and that desire to be and live for something more, and that realization that we're all connected, and what's the beauty and the essence in everything and everyone, and also the responsibility that
With
goes
that.
there. So yeah, with that, and that's really, really important. So I feel like all of the different modalities that have called me all fit really beautifully together. And so in a lot of ways, I'm using all of those tools because I'm preparing the space before I'm stepping into a session with a client. You know, there's meditation that and prayer that goes into preparing the space for the session and seeing what comes in and just holding and creating that container. The, it's not separate anymore because it's also just become more of who I am.
Okay. I like that. I like that a lot. I do believe wholeheartedly what you're saying about our connections. There's a book, The Course in Miracles, that I speak about a lot
Yeah, it's a great book.
because I'm a proud student of The Course in Miracles.
Yeah.
And when I think about, and my husband's not of that mind. So he's not of that mind. So we're very different in our spiritual beliefs and a lot of others too. But I think that's what draws us to one another. So what, like if I were to come to you and after, just based on the conversation that we're having, where would you think I would fit in those modalities? More
Uh,
spiritual, more energy, more.
well, all of those things are happening in a session. So if because there's something called resonance that happens within sessions. So you know, when you're around certain types of people, and we also just went over that when we're talking about walking into a room. And depending on, you know, if somebody comes in and they're so energized and so loving and so positive, that shifts the whole room. And the same thing with a negative person. So that's energetic resonance. So what happens in sessions energetic wise is that energetic resonance. So by preparing myself before I'm in session, I'm setting that stage to help you to have faster results because of my energetic practices and state. So energy is always happening and energy awareness, and same with that the spiritual aspect. So I'm calling in guides and angels and whoever it is that I'm working with in each session for your highest good and the highest good of all. And then using whatever tools I feel are necessary, or it's not even me, it's not what I feel is necessary. It's picking up on whatever it is happening within your consciousness and your being and whatever I'm being guided to help and support you with. Because I'm not doing the healing. I'm just really helping to create that container that elevates you to do your healing as quickly as possible.
So is it a whole hypnosis session or is it a mix? Because you said
It's
earlier,
a
I was listening. I know you don't think
Yeah.
that just because I don't follow, like I'm always going. I do actually hear everything everyone says. It's just that my mind is still going even when they're talking. It's like I can't shut it down. So I would like to work on that because I know I need to. Um, but you were saying that sometimes you found quicker ways. So
Yeah.
than the hypnosis, and you were talking about the noticing and
Yeah.
working towards those traumas, like specific situations that might be standing in the way. So would all that happen in one session in that container that you were creating, or
Yes.
okay, so
Yeah.
if I were to come to you and say, listen, I don't know what it is, but I feel really stuck. And I get a certain place and then I keep just revisiting the same thing. Like for me, um, I'm that butterfly girl where I know I have a million things to do, but part of me feels like I deserve more time for me. So I procrastinate a little and I'm looking over here and I'm looking over there. Um, when I was a child, my mother said, you must be afraid you're going to miss something because you're in everything. So maybe there's truth in that. Maybe there's truth, you know. I'm not too old to learn new ways of being, but I think that part of that might be a little, I might have fear or anticipation about the next step that I know that I have to do. Not so much fear, but maybe I'm not ready because of other things I'm working on and I'm trying to do them all at once, which probably isn't too smart. Thoughts?
For you, it keeps coming back to being present. So you're never fully in this moment. Because
Okay.
when you're always thinking about like the next thing or maybe what you would miss out on, your mind is always going and you're always reaching for the next thing. And based on what it is that you're saying, this is what I'm hearing you tell me. So you're going to be able to have better clarity and move into whatever those next steps are, or be able to take time for yourself when you're able to be here now and stand firm and have that clarity as to what exactly the next step is for you and how to feel peaceful in that, and then be able to move on to whatever that next thing is. It's okay. There's always going to be, when you're dynamic and you're interested, there's always going to be a lot of different things, but we can't do everything at once. We do everything like, I'm doing this now, and then I'll be doing this in half an hour from now. I'll be doing this in 2 hours from now. But if everything's not getting all of your energy and attention because you're always um, broken up into those, I'm giving my energy to 10 different things at once, then you're not getting the most of what it is that you're able to create and achieve because your energy is so split.
Okay. Well, I only work on one thing at once. I just have so many things going at once. So if I sit down with, let's say, a client, I'm there when I'm there. And then I'm working on the TV network, and then I'm working on a platform doing their beta testing. And then so I don't know if that's intentional that I have all that stuff there.
Mhm.
I mean, when I'm here, like I'm here with you now, I am present. I'm focusing on this, but I have so many things that I'm focusing on around me because I think they're part of that bigger picture that I'm trying to create.
It's possible to be able to, especially for a woman's brain to multi-function, to multitask. And I would look at it. I would look at that, practicing that presence more and noticing all of the spaces that your mind is going. You can achieve many different things, but it's a very different state and presence when you're really just focused and grounded. I would suggest doing like hara work along with meditation. And hara is something, it's also called like the dantian. So in martial arts, it's that power center. It's the thing that really grounds you to the earth. So I'd do more grounding work, less less up here energy and more down down towards your dantian, your hara, and your feet, and really grounding yourself. And that'll help to bring in that clarity that is needed. Just more space. You're the eye of the storm. That's more practicing being the eye of the storm.
I love that. I love that. I'm listening to everything you're saying. So you might be hearing from me on a different level because it's something I've always wanted to work on. Just I do try to practice being present, but it seems like I'm always practicing it. Like there's very few days that I'm just where I am and with not something else on my mind.
Yeah.
And I like there's very few days like that, if I'm being honest. So I always have something in the back of my mind saying, shouldn't you be here doing this? Why are you just
You
relaxing?
can never fully be where you are because you're always somewhere else too. And that's okay. It's just a practice. It's just an opportunity to practice something different if you're interested in that.
Yeah, I am. I do like grounding. Um, I've done that before in the past with others. I actually do that with clients as well. I think it helps, and it also helps isolate what's going on in their body.
Yeah.
Um, so I do enjoy that. I don't know that I like being the patient, but that's okay. Sometimes,
Oh, we all
the
have to be. I have
no, but
like
sometimes
two
you
different
just have to be the
therapists.
student. Yes, yes,
Yeah.
I totally get it.
Yeah,
So
and a
how do
coach and
people
all those things.
how do people get in touch with you?
The best, easiest way, I'm so lucky that I have Lainee.com is my website. Lainne, Lainee.com, and on social media, Lainee Love. That's my professional name. My given name is Lainey Patterson, and my professional name is Lainee Love.
I love that.
Yeah.
So if you could tell the audience one thing that to really capture everything that you said here, what would that be?
I guess there's a couple of things. One, that you
Okay.
matter. One, there's really the you matter. Going back to the beginning of the conversation, the power of story and the power of what happens when you do the work on yourself. That it's more than just for you. And I know that even if we just use our logical brains, we can have that awareness. Like it's true. As I change, then my relationships with my children, my friends, my partners, my coworkers change because I'm showing up differently. And but it's also that unseen work that you're doing, that ripple effect that you're creating for your lineage, and the unseen work that's being done as you start to affect the collective energies as well. So you really, really matter. You're so important, and you can do it. Like you can do it. You just got to keep keep trying. As you were saying, I practice. It's a lifetime of practice. I wish I had realized that earlier because I had a lot of moments of frustration. Well, I've been doing this for like 2 years. Like, why can't I stop? Or why isn't it different? Or why isn't it exactly the way I wanted it to be? Because it's a lifetime process. So really understanding that has helped me to feel less angry and frustrated about whatever it is that's happening in my life or not happening in my life, because it's a process. So just keep going.
I love that. And I think a lot of people need to hear that. I get that a lot I help people with weight loss and thyroid and leaky gut and stuff. And then I'm that nurse. And I hear people say a lot, but if you knew what I went through, or it's not that easy for people like me. And I think they always worry about the destination, and I'm guilty of this too. And they just don't enjoy the journey that they're in now, that this is all part of it. And if they just do the next thing,
That's
that,
also the importance of sharing stories and reading about other people's stories, as seeing somebody that came from a similar background from you. I know I felt a lot of that. I'm like, okay, well, they had a family that supported them, or they had a partner that supported them, or they had something that
mm,
supported them. For my story is just me. Like it's just me. I don't have a family. I don't have a partner. I don't have all of these resources. It's really just me, and I was able to achieve whatever, my goals on my own without that. And that's overcoming a lot of different challenges. And just know that, yes, it's true. It is definitely, I feel like, I started at minus 100, and some people start at plus 1,000, or some people are start at zero, but it took me so long just to get to zero. And then to be able to like climb that ladder, and then being on even playing grounds to the people that started at zero or 100 or 200 or 1,000. And it's okay. I it's okay wherever it is you're starting from, is wherever you're starting from, and it's possible. And there are countless people out there that have shared their stories, that have overcome similar challenges that you have, and look for them. Look for those people, because they will help to lift you up. They will inspire you. They'll remind you that it's possible to get it done. And just choosing to get stuck in that, well, it's harder for me, or you don't know, remember that that's a choice.
hmm.
You can choose to stay stuck in that, or you can choose to acknowledge, you don't know how hard it's for me. It's true. I don't. And do you want to overcome it, or do you want to stay there? I acknowledge that it's hard for you, and now let's do the work, and let's help to change your life.
I love that. That was beautifully said. We're going to end it on that note because I think you really, that was just eloquent. So I want to thank everybody for coming in and our special guest, Lainee, Lainee.com, everybody, and Lainee Love on all of our social medias. And thanks for tuning in. Have a great day.